Joking cast aside, welcome to our last GBM for the fall semester. I see a lot of people showed up. Thank you for making it, guys. We worked really hard to put this event together. A couple shout outs, aside from Josh putting together this beautiful graphic, he does a lot of small little details. I like how he made the title kind of like the JetBlue logo with the G's lowercase and all that kind of stuff. That's a Josh thing. So thank you, Josh, for putting that wonderful graphic together. I also want to give a special thank you. Let me see really quickly if it's in here. Yeah, I want to jump ahead to the slide. Ryan Spinelli, the one and only, thank you for providing us these pictures. We like to source our content in-house when we can. And of course, Ryan is our go-to guy. So real quick, Ryan, if you don't mind, what's the story with this photo? Where were you? What parking lot? What time of day? Where were they going?
See what day it was.
Yeah, I figured you would know. But that's Ryan for you guys. If you're waiting to pull that up, Ryan, no problem. We're going to go ahead and get to the attendance form. If you guys, okay. Sorry guys, Ryan spoke. I have to listen to him. What was it, 651 JB? Is that what you're asking for? You got it? Okay, now we can do the attendance. Ryan says you can do it, so please do. All right. I'm judging by most people starting to look up that they have completed the attendance form with all the necessary information, name, age, date of birth, social security number, and all the great stuff that we as an organization are required to run, I swear. So now that we have all that stuff taken care of, we also have a link tree, so for anybody who has not yet shown up to any of our events, because there are some faces in the room tonight that are either new or just haven't been as familiar, no problem, thanks for showing up anyways. That's our link tree with all of our relevant platforms if you'd like to stay connected for future events that we are holding. Again, shout out to Ryan. Ryan, did you get the deets on that?
It's going to take me a second.
Yeah, why? Is it because your Excel spreadsheet's like super gigantic? That's probably why. So we'll go ahead and wait for Ryan to get back to us on that. But let's talk about some of the remaining events for the fall semester. And by the way, for those of you who have not been to some of our prior events, the quick rundown for what we're doing tonight, as usual, is we'll talk about us for probably like 5 or 10 minutes. We'll transition to our guest speaker who has kindly taken the time out of his busy schedule to come to UCF and speak to you guys. After that, we'll be doing the trivia, which will have a giveaway included for 15 questions. And then after that, we'll give the giveaway gift card, and then after that, the pizza should arrive, because who doesn't love free food? Alex, where are you? Alex, what do you, I've heard this from you 9 times this week. What do you say about free food?
Oh, come on, you make me say it?
Yeah, I'm gonna make you say it.
Never turn down free food.
That's not how you say it.
A wise man once said.
Yeah, a wise man once said, thank you. He always says that. It almost annoys me, but I feel like he has a point, so thanks, Alex. Never turn down free food. All right, so you guys remember that MCO Tower Tour that we talked about like every GBM that never happened? Well, we're going to talk about it again, a timed Pegasus Pilots Edition. That handy dandy government shutdown of ours has not been so helpful, but rest assured we are in communication with MCO to make this happen once the government reopens. Fingers crossed. We all know the government's super fast and speedy. Well, most of the time it is, I don't know. But we're going to hope for the best. Moral of the story. So that's that, okay? And no, we don't have a date this time because they don't have a date for us either. No one does, so we'll have to wait on that. Now, Josh, I will let you speak on this because...
Should I like come to the front of the room?
Well, I would prefer that you come to the front of the room. I don't know. Do you want to keep your job? I'm kidding. Here you go.
All right, hey everyone. I went to go sit down only to get up 2 minutes later. So we have 2 tailgates left. Most of you guys probably haven't been there, and you know, it's not like you have to come, but if you guys are at the football game and would like to come chill out with us, we'll be at the RSO section, which is right here. It's right behind the Starbucks, around that area. If you guys want to come hang out, talk airplanes, and do non-advisable stuff, I plead the fifth, then we'd love to have you. We had a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch the tail draggers and the J3 Cubs dodge the storms way too late and then almost crash. But I digress. So yeah, we have 2 tailgates left this Friday at 2:30 p.m. And we're planning on doing senior night, but it's up in the air. Probably will. Why not? So just thought I'd mention that. And also wanted to talk about this. Also up in the air because the government shutdown has grounded all military teams except for, I think, the F-35 Lightning demo team for some reason. But anyway, if any of you are interested, this is also this weekend. Just wanted to highlight some remaining events that we have going on, and it's the Stewart Air Show. Stewart is in Martin County, so it's right in between Port St. Lucie and Palm Beach. It's about a 2-hour drive. If any of you are interested in carpooling or going, we have a channel on Discord for that. So keep an eye out. They've got some pretty cool performers. They have the Titan Aeroshell Aerobatic Team, which is a group of T6 Texans, which were World War II trainers. They rigged them up with lights and smoke. MiG-17, a 2/3 scale P-38, which is a World War II interceptor. It's a rebuild of it that you can buy for the low price of probably a couple $1 million. And the UH-1 Hueys, I think if you guys wanted to ride in a helicopter from Vietnam, that's a thing too. And Tycho Bell, the C-47 I work on, is going to be there doing paradrops. So if you guys want to see that and are bored on a weekend, then driving 2 hours is the perfect thing to do. I'm not sponsored by them. I just thought it was really cool. But anyway.
Thank you, God. Why don't you tell them about the VAC?
Oh man, I love talking. That was a joke. So yeah, also just wanted to highlight volunteering. If any of you guys are interested in getting a tour of the museum or carpooling with me at the crack of dawn, I will be there Wednesday and Thursday, weeks 2 and 3 of November, so the 12th and 13th and the 19th and 20th. I'm going to be doing work on the C-47 Tycho Bell. It's got its 100-hour, so we'll probably be giving it an engine run. I don't know if we're going to be flying it. I think we're switching a brake on it, so if you did want to see it at least run, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram or wherever. And yeah, check out the VAC roll if you want to see stuff going on in the museum. I post pictures and stuff. We just moved the Tomcat, which was pretty cool. And then this is not a Pegasus Pilots affiliated event, but if you guys are interested, they're opening up their cockpit. So if you wanted to go inside of an F-14 Tomcat on the 29th, which is Thanksgiving weekend, we're all going to be home. If you are in the area, might be pretty cool to check out. But I'm going to pass this over to someone who has a lot more charisma than me. Thank you all for listening.
Well, it's not me clearly, but thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. So, yeah, round of applause. Come on, what was that? You guys you started and then you stopped? Let's give a full round of applause. Thanks. False start on that one. Thank you, Josh. All right, so he talked about the events. This was kind of an extra slide that we were going to ramble on some more about, but honestly, I feel like he did a good job covering it, so we'll skip that. All right, so, by the way, love this picture. Josh, you were the only person sitting on the wing.
Volunteer, you get to sit on the wing at 7.
Yeah, I was about to say who was this, but you're the only person in our club who sits on the wing of a C-47, so I take that back. So, thanks for this amazing picture. This was the most recent Sun and Fun. If you ever go to Sun and Fun and you don't go to the night show, what's the most common thing people tell you? You have to go to the night show. So guess what I'm telling you? You have to go to the night show. Awesome, you can't miss it. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up in the spring semester for next year. So as always, we will do what we can to make it happen, but if things are out of our control, they are, but we're going to continue to fight for it. So let's talk about some of those events. So here's the first one. So I know that I had talked a couple times about getting the county sheriff's office to land their helicopter on Memory Mall. Great. Everything went to plan, including with UCF, but what did not go to plan was some internal stuff on the sheriff's office end, and it just was like, look, it's too close, we're not going to make it happen, push it back. So that's the bad news. The good news is that all the paperwork, hurdles, and logistics and all that stuff has been taken care of. So in other words, in terms of what's complex about making this happen, we've already seen the hard stuff. All right, so now it's just a matter of changing the date, changing the time, and making this happen. Ideally, hopefully, fingers crossed and toes crossed, sometime in January. But it's going to be a pretty cool event. The goal is to have them land their helicopter on Memory Mall, and then shortly after or before, depending on the scheduling, have them show up to one of our GBMs and also, of course, conduct a facility tour. But I'd be lying if I said those pictures were not tough, because they absolutely are. I mean, I don't know, which one do you guys like best? The one with the night vision goggles, or turning someone's front yard into daytime at night, or hovering above the SWAT team, or, I mean, I don't know, I thought all these pictures were cool. That was just me. I think it's one of my favorite slides of the entire presentation. Great stuff. So anyways, and then there's the usual stuff that we always do as a club. At general body meetings, we like to do our workshops, our socials that we do. Last one was, show of hands, who was at the last social? 1, 2, 3, 4, bing, bing, a little bit. Okay, good. It was interesting, was it not? Aiden, what are you laughing at? What's so funny?
It was interesting.
No, what did you think? Was it good?
It was busy.
Should people show up?
Yeah.
Will they feel smarter or stupider after leaving the social?
Smart. Is it possible to be both?
Stupider isn't a word, you just proved it.
That's why I said it. God, Josh. All right. So if you want to feel stupider or smarter, show up to our socials. All right. Facility tours, that's another one that we're hoping to make happen. Volunteering at the museum and all that kind of stuff. That's what we're hoping to see. And the last point, my friends, is crucial because we do want to see your input at some point in the presentation. Towards the end, there'll be a QR code for your feedback. So we do read through every single feedback piece painfully. So we do take that into account. And some of the things that we are doing this semester is a direct result of your guys' feedback. Thanks to some of the feedback from the spring semester, tightening up the reins within our executive board, I think this semester we have almost consistently had an event either every week or every other week in the form of tailgate socials, GBM's workshops, and I feel like I've aged a year in a semester, but you know what? It's great. We're doing things on a consistent basis. Can't complain about that. All right, so more air shows. There's a bunch of other dates listed here. I entrust that everybody here has at least a 5th grade level of reading competency, at least I hope you do. So I'm gonna not have to read off all those dates, but there are some things in the spring semester to look forward to. And of course, we cannot forget the pinnacle event of the spring semester, which is Sun and Fun 52. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I really, really like this year's theme. I mean, come on. America. It doesn't get better than that, right? You know what I'm saying? Man, I'm ready for that red, white, and blue. I'll tell you what. So it's going to be April 14th through 19th. It's a bit later than it was this past year, if I'm not mistaken. We do get money from volunteering because who doesn't love money? We certainly love money. It helps fund our club, our activities. And we can't say too much about the exact details for what we are going to do as a club. But last time, and certainly this upcoming time, guys, we're trying to have something where we have people staying overnight in Lakeland instead of having to make the hour-long drive from here to there and back and forth. A little bit more fun that way. All right, flight tags. We have been saying this all semester long, so this is just for the people who have not yet gotten their flight tag. These are free. It's funded by student government. That's why we have to put it on there. So they're zero cost, they're free, and grab one if you like one. That's all I got to say about the flight tags. So this is that survey that we were asking you guys to do. So if you could please whip out your phone, just fill this out. How this is structured is we have a couple of questions listed on there. We're going to be asking you how many events you could or could not show up to. We're going to be talking about, or rather asking you, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the least, 5 being the most, how satisfied were you with the events? I definitely won't cry if you put 1 for all of them, but please don't. But, you know, we'll take your feedback. And then there's a section towards the very end that will allow you to provide just generic feedback. So, hey, I want to see this, I want to see that. Cool, tell us. There is a spot for that towards the end.
Came down to Florida, was a flight instructor from 2000 to 2008. It's a long time to be a flight instructor. Part of that, as you'll see, was back during 9/11, and at that time nobody was hiring at the airlines. People were getting furloughed. It just was not a good time in the aviation industry. I was an instructor at Comair Aviation Academy, which was located up in Sanford. It's changed its name probably 6 or 7 times. I'm not sure what it's called now anymore. And then I was also an instructor at Air Orlando at Orlando Executive Airport. I was also the chief flight instructor there for about 2 years. After that, I went on to a regional airline called Mesaba. It is no longer in existence. It was bought by Pinnacle and then changed its name to Endeavor, which is wholly owned by Delta now. I flew the CRJ 900 and the CRJ 200. I was there from 2008 to 2014. And then in 2014, I got hired at JetBlue. I was a line pilot from 2014 to 2020, so I was out flying a regular schedule basically. From 2019 to 2020, I did a job called what we called duty pilot. I sat up in our operations center, and I was kind of the liaison between pilots out on the line and the different work groups that are up in the operations center. So if there was some type of operational issue that was going on, I would be the go-between between the two different groups. And then after that, I got hired as an assistant chief pilot up in JFK. I was up there for about a year and a half, and then the assistant chief pilot here in Orlando came open, and I've been down here for about 3.5 years now. So I've been in the chief pilot's office for about 5 years, which means I'm better at flying a desk right now than I am an airplane. I do go out, I am required to fly 2 days out of the month, so just enough to keep my proficiency and my currency. So, a little bit about JetBlue. We have approximately 5,000 pilots. That number kind of fluctuates a little bit. We currently have 284 aircraft. By the end of this year, we'll have 287 aircraft. We have a combination of A320s, 321s, 321LRs, and A220s, which is the newest airplane that we have. We did retire the E190 this year, back in September, so we no longer have the E190 on property. Like I said, the new aircraft deliveries are primarily A220s. We will get another 40 of them between now and 2030. And then we have options for an additional 30 after that if we choose to exercise those options. We are the 6th largest airline in the U.S. We have destinations here in the U.S., Canada, Central America, South America, Caribbean, and we go to Europe as well. So here are the different aircraft. We've got a new paint job, so you'll start seeing the airplanes in these paint schemes. We got the 320 here, which is kind of the workhorse. That's where we have the bulk of our aircraft. That's the 321. It's just a longer version, basically, of the 320. And then this is the newest airplane, the A220. The cockpit is state-of-the-art. We joke, you know, the hardest thing that you have to decide when you fly the A220 is whether you want to use Google or Siri, because it pretty much does everything for you. The checklists pretty much run themselves, so basically you go, you do your flow, and if anything's out of order on the checklist, it'll stop the checklist at that point until you put the switch or the button in the right position, and then it'll continue to go on. Whereas the A320 and the 321, there's a lot of us moving things around and doing stuff manually. Here's a map of kind of where we fly. You can see we kind of fly all over. You know, we don't do a lot into the central part of the U.S., but we do stuff the West Coast. We got the East Coast covered. There's probably maybe 1 or 2 islands in the Caribbean we don't fly to. As you can see, some places in Central America and then South America, and then to Europe. In Europe, we go to Dublin, Edinburgh, Amsterdam, London, Paris, and Madrid. Madrid is the newest city. So as you can see, we've kind of got a wide reach that we fly to. So pilot life, seniority is everything. So the longer you've been with the company, the more perks, I'll say, you get, okay? Everything from your schedule to pay to vacation to days off, everything is determined by your seniority. So it is vital that you get in as soon as you can and start gaining that seniority, because it'll make life much easier for you. We do bid on a schedule once a month, so we bid for the following month. So you won't really know your schedule until about a month prior. Sometimes it makes you know, making plans a little difficult sometimes. We do have a yearly system bid where you can move from seat, equipment, or bases. So if you're at the point we have enough seniority where you can go from being a first officer to being a captain, you can bid it during the system bid. If you want to go from the A220 to the A320, you can do that during the system bid. And if you want to move from JFK to Orlando, you can bid that as well during the system bid. And again, everything's based on seniority. So you have to have the seniority in order to hold whatever it is that you want to hold. The reserve pilots, they have a guarantee of 75 hours of pay. So everything that we do, we get paid per hour, okay? So reserve, if you're on reserve, you get 75 hours guaranteed. So whether you fly nothing at all or whether you fly all the way up to 75 hours, you're going to get paid 75 hours. A line holder, someone who has a regular schedule, they are guaranteed at least 70 hours, but typically they're usually around 80 hours or so. So they get a few more hours if you're a line holder. You also have a steady schedule. You have a predictable schedule. There are no guarantee days off if you're a line holder. If you're on reserve, you're going to work at least 16 days. The maximum, I should say, is 16 days. So that gives you 14 or 15 days off depending on the month. As a line holder, there is no you're guaranteed X amount of days off. It's pretty much whatever you want to do. If you're a line holder, you could bid for a line and you could drop everything if you wanted to down to 0 if you wanted to. Doesn't mean you get paid, okay, which is something I think everybody likes to do when they get a job, but if you wanted to drop it down to 0, you could. Or if you wanted to add on to that, you could. There are some pilots out there who, once they get the schedule, they'll start wheeling and dealing and they'll add this and subtract that, and before you know it, they're crediting 110 hours for the month. So you have a lot of flexibility when you're a line holder. And like I said, there's opportunities for additional pay. We have certain things, reserve, it's kind of like a backup reserve system. We have what we call a voluntary day assignment. Those things can pay anywhere from 150% to 200% of your pay, depending on what it is. So there are opportunities to make more money. The nice thing about being a pilot is you can kind of make it whatever you want. If you're someone who wants to go out and make a lot of money, there's opportunities to do that. If you're someone who values quality of life, like being home and things like that, you can do that as well. So there's a lot of flexibility with that. So here's kind of what a typical schedule will look like. This is a Boston pilot, but you can see he's on the 4th going through the 8th, and then the 10th through the 14th, and the 25th through the 1st. These times right here is when he's or she is to report, which is an hour before the departure time, and then this is 15 minutes after you're scheduled to block in. So that's what those mean. And then here's what they're actually doing. So the first day they're doing Boston to Fort Lauderdale, leaving at 1600, getting in at 1918, and then Fort Lauderdale to Buffalo, departing at 2025, getting in at 2327. Everything we do is in the 24-hour clock. Okay, so if you guys don't like it, you might want to get used to it. It just keeps things much, much simpler for us. Now, as you can see over here, they've got 15 and a half hours in Buffalo for the layover, and then the next day they go Buffalo, JFK, JFK to Syracuse. They've got basically 12 and a half hours in Syracuse, then Syracuse, JFK, JFK, Tampa, back to JFK. You get about 12 and a half hours in JFK. Then you go to Houston, back to JFK, you get 13 hours in JFK, and then the final day is the most important day, that's go home day, and you get back into your base at 10:25, and then there's that 15 minutes afterwards, so you are done at 10:40. So that's what a domestic schedule looks like. Here is an international schedule. This is going to Charles de Gaulle in Paris. So they depart JFK at 10:08. The 11:35 with the plus sign means it's the next day. So you get into Paris at 11:35 the following day. You get 21 hours in Paris, and then you come back to JFK. There's also a variation of that where they kind of marry a domestic trip with it. So JFK to Paris, 24 hours in Paris, back to Boston. You get almost 21 hours in Boston, then you go out to LA, you get 13 hours there, and then you come back. The one thing that is kind of problematic with some of the international flying is We have what's called an augmenting crew going to Amsterdam, Paris, London, and Madrid, which means there's 3 pilots on board. And so they take turns, basically, so that one of them will go rest, 2 of them will be up there, and they'll take their turns resting. The problem with that is that means that only 2 pilots are going to get landings. We have to get 3 landings in 90 days, just like everybody else. So sometimes getting them landings can be a challenge. So one of the things the company will do is they'll do something like this, where now they can have more opportunities to get landings and maintain their currency. It also cuts down on the company having to send them back to the simulator to go in and do 3 bounces. Just literally just you come in, land, they back you up, land, back you up, land. There you go. There's your currency. So they've started to do this as well. So this is something new that they've started doing. Like I said, they started running into some issues with guys and gals with currency. So so that's kind of what it looks like. That's about, well, here's a reserve schedule. I forgot. So this is what a reserve schedule looks like. It'll be 16 days. SCR is short call reserve. We have 2 different reserve systems that we utilize. There's short call reserve, and then there's something called long call reserve. Short call reserve is a 2.5-hour call out. So if they have an assignment for you, they have to give you a minimum of 2.5 hours to get to the airport. Long call, they will give you 14 hours. So you have a much longer period in order to get to the airport. So that means, in theory, if you were based up in JFK, you could stay down here in Orlando, and if they called you and said, hey, we got a trip for you tomorrow long call starts at midnight, so the earliest they could call you is midnight, basically, for a 1400 departure. So now you've got all morning to get yourself up to JFK. Short call, if you had short call, you probably have to be in JFK. It's a 2.5-hour call out. One of the things that a lot of pilots will do is they'll have what's called a crash pad. I know it's kind of maybe not the best term to use if you're a pilot, to live in a crash pad, but that's what they call them. And it's kind of like almost like being in a dorm room where you've got maybe a couple bunk beds. There's, maybe 2 other guys, gals, whatever, in the same room. People are coming in at different hours of the night and day because they've got different schedules. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but you can use it like if you're on reserve, or if you have, let's say, an early departure the next morning, you can go instead of getting a hotel every time, because that starts to get expensive. So that's what they'll do. So that's what a reserve schedule will kind of look like. If you're on reserve, unless again you have seniority, you don't have a lot of flexibility with your schedule. So again, like I said, seniority is everything in the aviation world. Let's see, I think that is it. Yep, that is it. All right. I know you guys are dying to ask questions. So, yeah.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
One, I saw you have a LinkedIn, but pilots are like kind of few and far in between with LinkedIns. Is there any benefit to having one?
Well, I have one just because of my position. Not a lot of pilots do, but a lot of the management pilots, we do have a LinkedIn account.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
yeah.
And number 2, do you have a favorite layover?
I think my favorite layover is Portland, Oregon. The reason I like Portland is usually it was a red eye, and so pilots have different ways of kind of dealing with red eyes. For those of you who don't know what a red eye is, typically what will happen is you'll leave the East Coast sometime at night, probably 7, 8 o'clock at night. You'll arrive over the West Coast 10, 11 o'clock at night, but it's really 1 or 2 o'clock back in the morning back here on the East Coast. You'll then have all day to sleep, and then you will leave the West Coast sometime at night, usually 10, 11 o'clock at night, and you'll fly all night long back to the East Coast and get in sometime in the morning, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, something like that. So there's different ways people kind of deal with the red eyes. Some guys will stay up all day, or all night I should say, and then sleep during the day. I would go to bed immediately. I'd wake up and I'd go tire myself out. I would go to the gym, I go walk the city, like literally like for hours. The reason I like Portland is not too far from the city center is a lot of really great hiking trails, like up in the kind of in the mountains, and I would love to go up there and just go hiking and tire myself out and come back. Another reason I like it is they have this huge bookstore. It takes up a whole city block. It's 4 stories, called Pals, which was great. I could go in and spend hours in there. And then they have a donut shop there. It's probably the best donuts I've ever had. So, you know, being food driven, you know, I couldn't wait to go get my donuts. So yeah, so probably Portland, Oregon. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
So I have 2 questions. One of them is a more funny question. What's your favorite special delivery of JetBlue's?
Trying to think. Well, I mean, it's kind of hard. A more recent one is the Mario World. That's kind of cool. It's got Yoshi and Mario and Princess Peach and I can't remember who the other one is on there. That's kind of cool. Everyone, you know, at the airport kind of stops and, you know, takes pictures of it and thinks it's cool. The others that I like also is we have one to honor the New York Fire Department, the New York City NYPD, and then also Vets in Blue. I think all those are great liveries as well. Yeah.
Okay, then my more serious question was, I'm just curious, like you said you went from being a line pilot, now you're in the chief pilot's office. What was the difference going from that to being now in an office? Like what do you do in the office?
So what do I do in the office? That's a good question. So I am, let's see here. Okay, I got a joke that might help explain it a little bit. Does anyone know the difference between a pilot and a jet engine? No? The jet engine stops whining at the gate, okay? Pilots are some of the biggest whiners ever, okay? They've got a great life. They get paid an extremely, you know, healthy salary, but you could say, I'm going to pay you $1 million, have you work 1 day out of the month, and they would still complain about that, okay? So my job is basically to take those complaints and help them deal with it, okay? So, you know, it could be something, you know, like I don't have anyone to look after my kid, you know, next Tuesday, and I got a reserve day. Is there something you could do to help me out? You know, it could be something like I had a death in the family. What do I need to do? You know what I mean? We have bereavement. How do I take that? Things like that. So I'm there more to help the pilots. Okay, I'm kind of the go-between between the company and the pilot. So I kind of straddle, you know, both sides. You know, I communicate to the pilots, you know, kind of the company's perspective, and then I do the same thing to the company when it comes to the pilots. Like, here's what I'm hearing on the line, here's what these guys and gals are complaining about, here's some issues, and then I take it and go back the other way as well. So discipline also, you know, if they violate some type of company policy, we will actually hold a hearing and investigate that, and then we'll determine what type of punishment they may receive. It's not the part of the job they're necessarily like, but it's part of the job. We're up in the terminals too. We're walking around. If they have any issues, you know, we'll help them out with those issues. And not just the pilots, but the other work groups as well. So whether it be in-flight, which is flight attendants, or AO agents, which are the gate agents, or GEO, which are the people who work on the ramp. If any of them have an issue, they can come to us and we can help them out. Yeah.
Is there a reason why you chose this role before becoming a captain?
So my previous role as the duty pilot, a lot of the things that I did there were very similar to what I'm doing now. It's not exactly the same. I didn't have to deal with any pay issues. I didn't have to deal with any discipline. But a lot of the other things I did deal in that role. And so By coming into this role, a couple of things. Number one, I didn't get a bump in my hourly rate, but I got a bump in the guarantee number of hours that I got per month. So it was a pay raise for me, basically. I had a lot more flexibility with my schedule. And it just seemed like a natural progression for me. It's, a way to get your foot in the door if you want to move up in management, or if there's other positions within the company that you may want. It's a good way to kind of get yourself in and get started that way.
So you kind of wanted to just start weaning out of the...
Honestly, at the time, I didn't. I was like, so the aviation industry is really small. Okay, I was the chief flight instructor at a flight school at Orlando Executive. I hired a guy about 20 years ago, okay, as a flight instructor. So I was his boss. That guy now is my boss. He's our system chief pilot, okay? He was the one that encouraged me to apply for this role. He's like, I think you do really good at it. I think you got the right mentality. I really think you should do it. And I respected him a lot, so that was one of the reasons why I also applied for it. At the time, I really didn't have a lot of interest in it, to be honest with you. But in retrospect, I'm glad that I did take it. It's been a great opportunity for me. I've got do a lot of cool things with it. The other nice thing about it is I get to see kind of behind the curtain. I get to see kind of how the sausage is made, so to speak, kind of how the company runs, what it takes to get one airplane from point A to point B, and just everything that's involved with that. So like I said, in retrospect, I'm glad that I took the position. Yeah.
So for seniority, in terms of more non-conventional pilot work, like let's say the military, something like 10 years of service, how would that impact, starting out at the airlines?
So military service doesn't come into seniority at all. It's strictly when were you hired. That's all seniority is. Companies do it differently. We do it by age of your new hire class. So whoever's the oldest would have the highest seniority number in your class. And then whoever is the youngest would have the lowest. And at that time, they'd be the plug. Basically, they'd be the bottom pilot in the whole entire company. But the military service doesn't have anything to do with seniority. It may help you get into that position. You know what I mean? It gives you the experience and the time and things like that, but it doesn't help you with seniority once you're in the company.
Got it. So piggybacking off that, what would you say the average age to be hired for a bigger airline?
So that's changed quite a bit. So to give you an idea, when I got hired 11 years ago, I had about 6,000 hours, roughly. We just had, about 2 years ago, we couldn't find enough pilots. We had people who literally were coming to interview and the ink on their ATP certificate was still wet, okay? We're talking 23, 24, okay? So things change. It's very cyclical. Right now, we haven't hired in over a year. Now that may change next year, but as of right now, we don't plan on doing any hiring. But it'll depend on what happens with the other airlines. Okay, but it's very cyclical. So 1 minute, we can't find enough pilots. The next minute, we've got way too many. We need to get rid of them. Okay, we are lucky, and one thing that we pride ourselves on is we have never furloughed a pilot. Okay, furlough is a fancy word for layoff. Okay, even during COVID, we did not furlough a single pilot, and that's something that the company is very proud of. Okay, you look at all the other airlines, they've had some point in their history where they have furloughed a pilot. Not just one, but many, okay? The old joke is you're not really an airline pilot until you've been divorced once or furloughed once, but that's not the joke anymore. So, and that's one thing that we use as a recruiting tool, like, hey, we've never furloughed. And there are some people who like that stability. If you go to, some other airline, you know, there might be some uncertainty there, especially if things start, if the next COVID happens, you may have a job one day and not have a job the next, you know, so some people like that stability.